At the height of the birthday party, amid toasts and smiles, the pregnant ex-wife suddenly appears, leaving the renowned businessman speechless. She carries a secret that will change his life forever. But before we dive into the full story, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. Now, subscribe to the channel and let's get started. A soft drizzle falls on the elegant glass panels of the Grand Meridian Hotel, its polished marble floors reflecting a parade of designer heels and glossy shoes. Tonight, the city's most esteemed executives gather in the palatial ballroom to celebrate the birthday of one of the country's most influential entrepreneurs, Jonathan Bennett. At just 35, he's already built a multi-million-dollar empire, commanding respect and sometimes fear wherever he goes. The night is electric. Under the brilliant crystal chandeliers, guests mingle amid the gentle clink of champagne flutes. A well-known DJ from Los Angeles spins a subdued yet modern soundtrack, weaving electronic beats with the hum of anticipatory chatter. Men in tailored suits and women in shimmering evening gowns toast to Jonathan's success, praising the man who has managed to soar above every possible setback. Yet behind the facade of luxury and celebration, something feels off. Jonathan stands near an ornate ice sculpture, carved to look like the crest of his company, Bennett Enterprises. Despite the gracious smile he offers each well-wisher, a subtle tension rides beneath his poised exterior. He occasionally checks his phone, scanning the screen for something or someone that refuses to appear. It's not a client or a brand ambassador. Tonight he's expecting a different kind of visitor, one that even he isn't certain will come. Only his close confidants know that Jonathan's birthday, with all its pomp and grandeur, has always brought a quiet sorrow. After all, it's just 1 year since his divorce from Laura Faulkner, the woman he once adored with all his heart. Publicly, their split was clean and swift. Privately, it left scars. Everyone in attendance sees a successful, charming man, but few suspect the regrets and questions that haunt him even in his happiest moments. A hush falls in the crowd when the band transitions to a quieter tune, as if sensing a shift in the evening's atmosphere. The manager of the hotel, a wiry man with a slight tremor in his hands, approaches Jonathan with a discreet nod. "Excuse me, Mr. Bennett. We have a special guest in the lobby." Jonathan's brow creases. He sets aside his champagne, mutters a quiet, "Thank you," and strides out of the ballroom, leaving behind the swirl of conversation. Every step echoes in the silent corridor, a dramatic counterpoint to the music behind him. Once in the lobby, a wave of the manager's hand indicates a figure standing by the large bay windows, arms folded protectively across her coat. It's Laura. Her hair, once cut short at Jonathan's request because he liked the professional look, now falls in gentle waves past her shoulders. She's wearing a navy blue maternity dress, a detail that strikes Jonathan like a thunderbolt. Laura is visibly pregnant. He stops abruptly, swallowing the myriad emotions that threaten to break through his calm facade. Why is she here tonight of all nights? They haven't spoken in months. And pregnant? The 1,000 questions swirling in his mind reduce him to momentary silence. Laura, her gaze resolute yet filled with vulnerability, offers a small, shaky smile. "Happy birthday, Jonathan," she says, her voice just loud enough to be heard over the distant hum of the party. He steps closer, torn between shock and concern, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "Laura, what is this? When did you—" She gently places a hand over her abdomen. "About 6.5 months, she murmurs. Then, with a deep inhale, she utters words that break whatever composure Jonathan has left. "We need to talk about our child." A swirl of memories floods him. Nights of playful banter in their old apartment, the vows they exchanged on a moonlit balcony, the fights that eventually tore them apart. And now she's standing here, about to upend everything. He gestures for her to follow him to a more private area. One glance from Jonathan, and the manager courteously steers curious onlookers away. By the fountain near the side exit, surrounded by quiet, trickling water, they face each other. Laura's eyes shine with unshed tears. "I never planned to keep this from you, Jonathan. But after the divorce, I wasn't sure if... I didn't think you'd... Or maybe it was that I was afraid." "Afraid of what?" Jonathan's tone is stern, but underlying heartbreak laces every syllable. "That you would dismiss me," Laura confesses. "Dismiss our child. My attorneys advised me to wait, to see how stable things were. We'd fought so fiercely during the last few months of our marriage, and I was afraid if I told you too soon you'd..." She shakes her head, uncertain how to finish. His gaze falls to her rounded belly, the evidence of a life neither had planned. In the hush of the side corridor, they stand in a standoff. Jonathan's hand instinctively wants to reach out, but he clenches it into a fist, controlling the impulse. "So you show up on my birthday, pregnant, and just tell me like this?" A single tear escapes down her cheek. She brushes it away. "I wouldn't have come if I thought you'd let me speak any other way. You're never alone. You're always surrounded by colleagues, assistants, or your new friends. This was the only night I was certain I'd find you in one place, and I wanted to be honest before it was too late." Jonathan stands rigid, fury warring with guilt. Despite the swirl of anger, part of him is relieved that she came. "Why now, Laura? Is this a ploy for money?" The instant the harsh words leave his mouth, he regrets them. But it's too late. Her chin lifts in defiance, eyes sparking. "Think what you want, but if this were about money, I would have shown up months ago with lawyers and demands. You know me better than that. At least, you used to." He exhales shakily, raking a hand through his impeccably styled hair, no longer caring if it stays perfect. "Look, this is a lot to take in. Let's handle this privately. This is my birthday party, and I have guests." "They're your guests, Jonathan, not mine," Laura interjects, her voice trembling with pent-up sorrow. "I'm just the ex-wife who showed up uninvited with news that changes everything. But before you decide you hate me for it, there's more you need to know." He stiffens, bracing for the next blow. "What do you mean there's more?" Laura glances around the deserted corridor, confirming that they're alone. She fiddles with the delicate pendant around her neck, an old gift from him back when they believed love was enough to conquer any obstacle. "We're not just talking about a baby, Jonathan. It's about your entire future. Ours. And someone else's. Someone who's never stopped wanting to see you fail." His eyes narrow and old resentments flare. "Are we talking about your father? That controlling man who always believed I wasn't good enough for you?" She holds up a hand. "No. Listen to me. This is bigger than any personal vendetta. I thought after the divorce we'd go our separate ways. But I've discovered things. Things connected to your company, your board, people who'd love nothing more than to watch you lose everything. The pregnancy is only part of why I'm here. Believe me, I never wanted to come with so much turmoil, but the baby's arrival changes the stakes. I had to warn you." Jonathan's lips part to respond, but a commotion at the far end of the corridor cuts him off. Several guests, led by an anxious assistant, are searching for the birthday man. The music swells from the ballroom, reminding them that the world keeps spinning outside their intense, life-altering confrontation. Laura steps back, both hands cradling her pregnancy. "Don't worry, I'll leave you to your party, but you needed to know before the night ended. Believe me when I say I never wanted it to be like this." With a final glance, she turns and heads toward the exit, each step echoing with unspoken regrets. He wants to stop her, but can't. Not yet. The guests and the obligations of the party call. His mind whirls. She's pregnant with his child. Did he just accuse her of a money grab? Fear and confusion swirl like a tempest in his chest, and her cryptic warning about threats looming over his empire rattles him to the core. Meanwhile, across the lobby's glass doors, cameras flash. Word has already reached the press that a scandalous figure from Jonathan Bennett's past might be attending his birthday. He runs a hand over his face, trying to piece it all together. Tomorrow, everything will change, and he doesn't know if he's even remotely prepared for what comes next. By the time Jonathan leaves his own birthday party, it's past midnight. The night sky is starless, and the once glittering ballroom stands quiet, its grand decor cast in shadows. He thanks the final guests and waits for his driver outside, ignoring the uneasy looks from passing hotel staff. His mind is still swimming with Laura's shocking revelation. She is carrying his child. Every attempt to rationalize or compartmentalize that fact ends in confusion. Yet another question rings clearly in his head. Why mention a looming threat against him right on the heels of confessing her pregnancy? He doesn't sleep when he gets home. Instead, Jonathan paces the penthouse living room, stopping occasionally at the floor-to-ceiling windows to watch the silent city below. The penthouse, a sleek, modern space outfitted with sharp lines, leather furniture, and abstract art, feels oddly foreign tonight. The minimalist decor stands in stark contrast to the emotional chaos ripping through him. Scrolling through old photos on his phone, he relives snapshots of that better time. He and Laura smiling in front of a newly purchased townhouse, arms draped around each other. A spontaneous selfie from a trip to Chicago, both giggling at a wind gust that nearly toppled them. The memories collide with the bitterness of their divorce, signed papers, parted ways, and radio silence, until tonight. Now she's brought not just news of a baby, but hints of dangerous schemes swirling around him. Hours later, the drab gray light of early morning finds Jonathan seated at the marble kitchen island, nursing coffee he can't taste. His phone buzzes with daily updates from his executive assistant, Sarah Davis, meeting reminders, stock performance briefs, news alerts. He texts back a curt, "Be in by 9, then tosses the phone aside. But the phone buzzes again almost immediately. This time, it's a personal message from an unknown number. "We need to talk. Today, please." Laura. He stares at the screen. Part of him wants to ignore it entirely. Another part demands to know more. Ultimately, he types back, 2 p.m. My office. Don't be late. He sets the phone down, heart pounding. Their dynamic has shifted irreversibly, and he doesn't quite know how to handle the imbalance. Once, they were a power couple, forging a partnership that blended romance and ambition. Now they stand on opposite sides of a fractured past with something precious and possibly precarious joining them together again. At 8:45 a.m., Jonathan slips into the back of his chauffeured SUV. Traffic winds slowly through the heart of the financial district. Towering skyscrapers, each adorned with corporate logos, loom like silent sentinels. He tries to focus on the day's schedule, a debrief on a new acquisition, a lunch with the CFO, the rumored presence of suspicious investors who might be angling for a hostile takeover. Always more predators lurking around Bennett Enterprises. He's used to it, or at least he thought he was. The building that bears his name, Bennett Plaza, stands at the center of the district. Glass, steel, and gleaming angles designed to impress. Inside, the lobby is filled with a constant swirl of professionals hustling through security gates. Sarah Davis is already waiting by the private elevator. She's in her early 30s with dark hair and a precise bun and an outfit that straddles business and style. She offers him a clipped nod. "Morning, Mr. Bennett. I've got the summary for last night's charity fundraiser," she says, handing him a folder. "Unfortunately, it seems overshadowed by the gossip sites covering your birthday. Photos of you leaving the Grand Meridian with someone else." Jonathan's jaw tenses. He knows the paparazzi must have captured the moment Laura approached him in the lobby. "Let the PR team handle it," he replies tersely. "We don't need to engage unless it starts affecting stock prices." They ride the elevator in silence. The doors open to Bennett Enterprises' executive floor, a suite of glass-walled offices and conference rooms designed to convey transparency and power, though, ironically, Jonathan has never felt so shielded and guarded in his life. He steps into his corner office, which is awash with natural light from the large windows overlooking the city. Framed accolades, Forbes covers, philanthropic awards, architectural magazine spreads line one wall. On his polished oak desk sits an updated itinerary. Sarah clears her throat, following behind. Your CFO, Eric Roth, wants a few minutes before lunch. He says it's urgent. Jonathan flips open his laptop, scanning emails. All right, but keep it short. I have another appointment at 2. Sarah nods but doesn't budge. Jonathan, you look like you haven't slept. Is everything okay? It's a moment of humanity between them, so unexpected that Jonathan almost falters. Usually, he doesn't allow personal cracks in front of staff. He steels himself. I'm fine, Sarah. Just a long night. Let's focus on the day's tasks. She hesitates, then leaves, her expression filled with concern that she knows better than to voice aloud. The next few hours blur in a frenzied collage of back-to-back meetings, presentations about new product lines, contract renegotiations, financial forecasts. Jonathan forces himself through it all, capitalizing on the adrenaline that surges from business challenges. There's an undercurrent of tension he can't fully place, like someone is watching or waiting for him to drop his guard. At noon, he and Eric Roth grab a private conference room. Eric, balding but sharp-eyed, spreads out a set of spreadsheets. I've been analyzing some unusual movements in our shares over the past 2 weeks. Large blocks of stock are being bought under shell accounts. Tried to follow the chain, leads to a cluster of offshore holdings I can't pin down. This is beyond the usual investor shuffle. It looks like a covert attempt at consolidation. Are you talking about a potential hostile takeover? Jonathan snaps, eyes narrowing. Who'd have the capital to quietly acquire that many shares? That's just it. The accounts are masked. If we can't identify them, we can't negotiate or hedge, Eric says, exasperated. But I suspect it's an old competitor or someone with a personal vendetta. Could be a group. It's a small percentage now, but if they keep buying without detection, they could push for seats on the board. Jonathan clenches his jaw, remembering Laura's cryptic warning. There are people who want to see you lose everything. Could this be connected? Could she have discovered something about these shell accounts? He flicks through the data. Keep digging. Hire outside forensic analysts if you need to. And Eric, keep this quiet. No leaks. Eric nods, anxious. Understood. You might want to be careful. I get the sense these investors aren't looking to negotiate amicably. When Jonathan steps back into his own office, it's nearing 1:30. His stomach twists in hunger and stress, but he has no appetite. Instead, he presses the intercom, telling Sarah, "Hold my calls, and if Miss Faulkner arrives, bring her in." Sarah's calm voice replies, "Yes, Mr. Bennett." He collects his thoughts. As the minutes tick closer to 2, he imagines the conversation to come. How will Laura explain her timing? Is she truly just notifying him of her pregnancy, or does she suspect he's about to be blindsided by something deeper, something violent or ruinous? If so, how did she find out? An abrupt knock at the door signals the arrival of the woman he both resents and, in ways he hates to admit, still cares for. Laura steps inside. Gone is the fancy evening dress. She wears a simple black maternity blouse and jeans, her hair tied back. Yet, despite the casual attire, her posture is poised. She clutches a small folder under one arm. Sarah, after ushering Laura in, closes the office door, leaving them in uncomfortable privacy. This time there's no swirling crowd or thumping music, just the hush of a powerful corporation's nerve center. "I know we have limited time," Laura begins quietly. She stands near the window, her face illuminated by midday sunlight. "Thank you for seeing me." Jonathan exhales. "Let's get to it. You told me last night there's more to this than the baby." Her gaze flickers to the panoramic cityscape. "I wish I could separate the two things, Jonathan, but I can't. Not after what I found out." She extends the folder. He takes it cautiously, aware that whatever is inside could change his life for a second time in less than 24 hours. Opening it, he scans page after page of suspicious transactions, partial names, references to secured shares. Some are dated before their divorce. Many include mentions of foreign accounts and partners with minimal identification. He looks up, stunned. "Where did you get all this?" Her expression is resolute. "Short answer, I poked around. You might not believe it, but part of me never stopped caring about what happened to you even after our marriage fell apart. When I discovered I was pregnant, I got worried about my child's future. And that's when I came across these investors, shell companies. They're creeping in from every angle, and they're well connected." Jonathan's pulse hammers. The data, combined with Eric's suspicions, confirms a pattern. "Why not just call me directly? Why show up at my birthday party unannounced?" "Because you stopped taking my calls a long time ago, and you'd never believe me if I just sent an email. The fact is, you're in danger. Not necessarily physical danger, but everything you've built. They want a piece, or they want it all. If you don't act, soon you won't control your own company." His eyes flick to her pregnant silhouette. The swirl of betrayal, curiosity, worry, and unexpected protectiveness rises again. "And the baby, Laura? Why hide that from me so long?" She hesitates, hugging her arms around herself. "I couldn't face you. We were so broken. It wasn't exactly ideal to find out I was pregnant after we'd signed the divorce. I needed time. But now we don't have time. Any time. Because these people are about to make their move. She cuts off, tears glinting in her eyes. "Jonathan, say something." He sets down the folder, breath still short. "I don't know what to say. You bring me evidence of a looming corporate takeover that you apparently discovered on your own. You're carrying my child, which you told me about last night, and you're worried that both you and the baby might get pulled into this mess if I go down." Silence. Laura's lips press together, and she nods. Emotions surge in Jonathan, raw and conflicting. Despite all the tension, part of him is grateful she came. Because no matter how complicated their past, she's a mother, carrying his heir. And if the storm that's gathering is half as bad as it seems, she and the child could be used as pawns against him. He closes the folder with trembling hands, fixing his gaze on Laura. "All right, show me everything you have. If we're going to stop this, we need to act fast. As for the baby, we'll figure it out." She exhales in relief, tears finally slipping free. Then, gathering her resolve, she moves to his side of the desk. For the first time in a year, they stand shoulder to shoulder, scanning documents that may determine the fate of Bennett Enterprises and the new life growing quietly between them. By late afternoon, the hush of Jonathan's office has taken on a near-military precision. Papers are strewn across the desk in meticulous piles, scribbled notes adorn a whiteboard, and Laura's folder of suspicious transactions has been merged with Bennett Enterprises' own records. The result is a layered map of overlapping shell companies, illicit share purchases, and cryptic references to foreign partners that seem to circle back to a hidden financier, or perhaps multiple financiers. Jonathan hunches over the desk, sleeves rolled up, tie loosened. Across from him, Laura's posture remains poised, though fatigue shows in the faint circles under her eyes and in the protective hand she occasionally presses over her growing belly. They work in quiet unison, momentarily forgetting their shattered history. A firm knock shatters the silence. The door opens before Jonathan can respond, revealing Eric Roth, the CFO, and Sarah Davis, his trusted assistant. Both wear urgent expressions. Eric speaks first. "Jonathan, I've got new information." Then he falters as he notices Laura. His eyes narrow slightly, recalling that she's no stranger to the Bennett name. But he doesn't pry. Instead, he drops a folder onto the table with a shaky exhale. "We've managed to trace some funds, They're linked to a network of hedge funds owned by the Renshaw Group. Laura blinks. Renshaw? That name came up in one of my documents, but all I could find was that they were funneling money to smaller corporations that eventually led here. Jonathan's jaw tightens. He's had a long-standing rivalry with Victor Renshaw, an influential financier known for swallowing smaller companies whole. So it's the Renshaw Group, he mutters. I shouldn't be surprised. He's always wanted a piece of my empire. Eric nods grimly. Renshaw is ruthless. He invests, infiltrates boards, then orchestrates takeover bids, except he usually keeps his name hidden until the last possible moment. But there's more. He's not acting alone. We suspect another major player, but we don't have the name, just references to a silent partner in half these documents. Sarah steps forward, trying to remain composed. There's also an article set to drop in tomorrow's business press. An insider's leak about Bennett Enterprises showing signs of weak leadership and board discord. We believe it's part of a strategy to drive down our share prices, making it easier for Renshaw and his partner to buy bigger chunks at a discount. Jonathan runs a hand through his hair, fighting off the initial panic. So they're hitting us on multiple fronts: financial, media, and possibly legal if they push for seats on our board. Laura glances at him, concerned. What can we do to stop it? Once rumors start, it's hard to contain them. He sets his jaw. We go public with our own narrative, show strength, highlight our stable numbers. Eric, hold an emergency session with the board. We need them unified. Sarah, rally the PR team. No comment about Renshaw until we confirm, but emphasize we're secure and thriving. Meanwhile, I'll speak with our largest investors personally, reassure them we've got this under control. If they stand by me, it'll be much harder for Renshaw to undermine us. Eric hesitates, fiddling with the edges of the folder. We can try, but you know Renshaw won't back down easily, especially if he has a silent partner, someone with deep pockets or personal motives. Jonathan's eyes flick to Laura. Her lips form a grim line, recalling the cryptic threat she hinted at the night before. We focus on what we can control, Jonathan says firmly, though doubt gnaws at him. We have to move fast. Sarah, professional as always, nods. Understood. I'll coordinate with legal too. We'll need them prepped for any sudden lawsuits or board challenges. With a collective nod, Eric and Sarah depart to handle their tasks. The office door clicks shut, leaving Jonathan and Laura face to face with the mounting crisis. For a moment, neither speaks. Laura finally breaks the silence. I'm sorry this is happening. If I'd known sooner, I'd have come to you right away. He exhales, stepping around the desk to meet her gaze. If you hadn't said anything, I wouldn't have pieced it together this quickly. You might have just saved Bennett Enterprises from walking blindly into a takeover. A flicker of relief passes across her features, tempered by the lingering tension between them. Look, I want to help, but I'm not a corporate strategist. I only know what I've dug up on my own. He folds his arms. You discovered more than my own team had. Something tells me you have good instincts, Laura. Also, after everything, you might understand my blind spots better than anyone else. God knows, during our marriage, you saw the side of me that's not exactly boardroom friendly. She smiles a little, a sad nostalgia in her eyes. I don't think you realize how valuable I found that side of you. Before things got messy, that is. A thick moment of emotion lingers, and Jonathan clears his throat. So let's treat this like a partnership, he says quietly. At least until we fend off Renshaw and his mystery partner. After that, we can figure out this baby situation. But for now, Bennett Enterprises has to come first. If it goes under, we all lose. Laura nods, though her gaze flits down to her belly, reminding him that some responsibilities can't wait forever. Yes, of course. Let's do what we have to do. As dusk settles, Laura helps Jonathan sift through the labyrinthine transactions, highlighting leads and cross-referencing data Eric just emailed. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city lights begin to shimmer. The tension in the room is palpable, but there's also an unexpected sense of unity, like the old days when they collaborated on charity events or planned important social engagements. A buzz on the office phone interrupts them. Sarah's voice comes through. "Jonathan, we have a situation." His heart jumps. "What is it?" She speaks in hushed urgency. Reporters at the lobby entrance. They're swarming, asking about rumors of a secret baby on the way. Your baby. Laura's eyes widen in alarm and Jonathan's gut twists. He hits the speakerphone. "Sarah, just keep them away, no comment, especially about personal matters. They say they have proof, ultrasound images, maybe photos. They're demanding a statement from you." Jonathan's hand grips the edge of the desk. A dozen thoughts blitz through his mind. Could Renshaw be feeding the press a personal bombshell to destabilize him? Or is this the silent partner's work? Either way, it's a direct hit on his vulnerability. Laura pales. "This is bad," she whispers. "Who would leak my ultrasound photos?" Jonathan cuts the speaker. "I don't know, but I have to address it. If I don't, it'll overshadow everything I do tomorrow, and the stock could plummet." She steps forward, her voice tight. "I'll say it's not true, that it's all rumor. I'll do whatever it takes to keep you out of scandal." But as he searches her panicked expression, he's struck by a pang of conscience. "I'm not denying the child is mine," he murmurs firmly. "I won't lie about that, but we have to frame this carefully so it doesn't give the vultures more ammunition." Laura's lips part, relief flickering. Despite the tension, she seems grateful he won't publicly reject their baby. "Then we should plan our response. Keep it short, direct, and—" She's cut off by another rapid knock. Sarah peeks in, face drawn with worry. Reporters are climbing the front steps. One or two tried to slip past security. "We need a statement like now." Jonathan glances at Laura, then nods decisively. "All right. Let's go down and say as little as possible, but just enough to shut them up for tonight." Laura swallows. "You want me there?" "Yes." There's no hesitance in his tone. "If we hide you away, it'll only stir more suspicion. But keep your answers minimal. We don't owe them a soap opera." His heart pounds as they ride the elevator down to the main lobby. It's an intense flashback to years ago, when the two were an unstoppable duo at social events. Now they're on the brink of a different kind of exposure. Laura holds his arm for balance, both physically and emotionally. The elevator doors slide open. Immediately, a barrage of bright camera flashes assails them. Dozens of voices overlap. "Mr. Bennett, is it true you have a secret heir on the way? Ms. Faulkner, are you pregnant with Jonathan's child? Are you two reconciling? Are you exploiting this pregnancy to gain part of Bennett Enterprises?" Security personnel keep the reporters at bay, forming a line of dark suits and stern glares. Jonathan stands tall, clearing his throat. "I'll make a brief statement." A hush falls. Well, a partial hush. Cameras still shutter incessantly, and microphones jostle for position. Jonathan's stern voice echoes in the lobby's polished space. "Yes, Laura Faulkner and I were once married. Yes, she is pregnant." He swallows hard, choosing his words carefully. "That's our personal matter. We ask for privacy. Any suggestion that this is a scandal or an attempt to manipulate corporate interests is both baseless and offensive." Someone shouts, "Are you reuniting, or is she blackmailing you for a share of the company?" Laura bristles, stepping forward. Though visibly shaken, she speaks with unexpected steadiness. "I'm no blackmailer. This is an ordinary situation. Two people who have a complicated past but share a responsibility for a child. We're handling it privately. Please respect that." Multiple questions erupt, but Jonathan raises his hand, halting them. "We'll say nothing more tonight. My offices remain focused on Bennett Enterprises' future, and that's all I'll address in a professional capacity. As for our personal lives, we appreciate your respect. Thank you." He offers no second chances for follow-ups, turning to guide Laura through a side corridor. Security fans out, blocking the horde. The flashes slowly dim behind them. Once they're clear, Laura exhales shakily. That was awful. Jonathan presses his hand against the small of her back. But we did it. They wanted a tabloid circus, and we gave them a controlled statement. Let them spin it however they want. The record is set. Before she can respond, an urgent text from Eric pings onto Jonathan's phone. We have an emergency board meeting first thing tomorrow. Renshaw's name came up. Be ready. Jonathan pockets the phone, meeting Laura's eyes. The hits keep coming, but we'll handle that too. She nods, determined. I'm with you. Whatever it takes, until this is settled. In the fluorescent-lit corridor, they share a look filled with unresolved emotions. A tenuous alliance forged by crisis, father and mother-to-be standing firm in the face of attacks both public and shadowy. Tomorrow promises to be another long day. Yet tonight, at least, they walk away arm in arm, united in a way neither could have predicted just 24 hours ago. Morning light filters through the towering glass windows of Bennett Enterprises as Jonathan steps off the elevator, his jaw set with determination. The board meeting is set to begin in 15 minutes, and the atmosphere on the executive floor feels charged. Employees avert their eyes, anxious whispers ripple along the corridors. Everyone senses the storm on the horizon. Laura arrives minutes after Jonathan, escorted by a discreet security guard to avoid the paparazzi still lurking outside. She wears a tailored gray blazer over a dark maternity dress, her expression calm but alert. Sarah Davis quickly ushers both into a private office adjacent to the boardroom, offering them coffee. Jonathan, half listening, flips through a packet of updated financials. Any new leaks overnight, Sarah? She shakes her head. No direct leaks, but some tabloids are running wild with yesterday's confrontation. At least a few have linked it to your rumored corporate troubles. They're spinning it as a perfect storm, baby scandal, and business under fire. Laura's eyes flick downward at the mention of baby scandal, but Jonathan sets a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We control what we can. Let's focus on the board. They can't base decisions on gossip alone, right? Sarah glances at them both. Eric Roth is already in there, trying to calm everyone. I'll direct you inside in a minute. Just be prepared. Some board members are spooked. A pang of frustration surges in Jonathan's chest. In calmer times, his board was an asset, loyal and supportive. But he knows that fear of a takeover can unravel even the most solid alliances. Thanks, Sarah, he murmurs. Let's go in. She leads them down a short hallway to frosted glass double doors. On the other side, the boardroom's oval table is surrounded by a dozen executives. Tension buzzes in the air, underlined by the hum of the overhead lights. Eric stands at the front of the room directing a projector's slideshow of stats. All heads swivel as Jonathan and Laura enter. One of the older board members, Elizabeth Clark, silver-haired, impeccably dressed, arches an eyebrow upon seeing Laura. Murmurs ripple around the table. Jonathan can sense the unspoken questions. Why is she here? Didn't they divorce? He clears his throat, moving to the head of the table. Laura, after a moment's hesitation, takes a seat in the corner, notebook in hand. She has no official role here, but he wants her nearby if something about Renshaw's infiltration arises. She might see angles he misses. Eric clicks a remote, freezing the slides on a chart of share ownership changes. Jonathan, we've been updating the board on unusual trading activity. We have reason to believe the Renshaw Group is behind at least 15% of recent share purchases. Possibly more. His laser pointer circles a wedge on the chart. If this continues, they'll aim for a controlling interest or at minimum board seats to shape our direction. Elizabeth Clark lifts her chin. We can't allow that. Bennett Enterprises is built on independence, on forging our own path. Renshaw would tear us apart. Beside her, a younger board member adjusts his tie. But can we fight it? Renshaw's pockets run deep, and rumor has it he's backed by another player with limitless capital. Jonathan sets the folder on the table, face unreadable. I won't let Renshaw devour us. That's not an option. Here's our plan. 1. We reaffirm faith in the company's leadership, meaning we present a united front to the press and shareholders. 2. We launch a share buyback strategy to strengthen our position. 3. We track every shell account. We find out exactly how many shares they control and block them from surpassing the threshold needed for a hostile bid. An older man in a pinstripe suit, Charles Morrison, frowns. These measures cost money, Jonathan. Are we sure we can outspend Renshaw? The markets see our volatility. There's your personal scandal plus these infiltration rumors. Our stock is at risk of dropping even more if investors lose confidence. A wave of uneasy nods circles the table. Jonathan inhales to maintain composure. Our fundamentals are strong, and we have enough liquidity for a tactical buyback. Eric can attest that while it's costly, it's doable. And as for my personal life, it's just that personal. I'll handle the rumor mill, but I need this board to remain steadfast. If we fracture now, Renshaw wins. Elizabeth Clark's gaze flicks momentarily to Laura, then back to Jonathan. We stand with you, Jonathan, but there's a lot of chatter that Bennett Enterprises is distracted. The press is tying your ex-wife's pregnancy to corporate drama, as if there's some grand conspiracy. Jonathan's voice sharpens defensively. Laura's presence doesn't compromise our business, nor is there a conspiracy. We're addressing Renshaw's threat head-on, and that's all that matters. Eric jumps in. Our next step is to file notice with the SEC about suspicious trading, see if we can freeze some accounts. It might buy time to secure a stable base of shareholders loyal to Jonathan's leadership. The board members murmur among themselves. Charles Morrison leafs through financial documents, while Elizabeth Clark nods thoughtfully. Despite the tension, the overarching sentiment is clear. They trust Jonathan's leadership but fear the chaos swirling around him. From her seat, Laura can't help but notice how Jonathan commands the room. She recalls the many nights watching him refine his public speaking, the unwavering resolve in his eyes when he was determined to protect what he'd built. That same resolve is on display. Only now they're grappling with a more formidable enemy than she's ever seen him face. When the meeting adjourns, the board slowly disperses with measured optimism. Some shake Jonathan's hand or pat his shoulder in encouragement. Others cast sideways glances at Laura, uncertain how she fits into the company's future. Finally, the room empties until only Jonathan, Laura, Eric, and Elizabeth Clark remain. Elizabeth clears her throat. Jonathan, I'm not blind. I see a fierce loyalty between you two no matter what's happened in your marriage. If Ms. Faulkner is involved in uncovering these infiltration details, well, we owe her some gratitude. Laura stands, a bit embarrassed. I'm only doing what I can. I want Jonathan to succeed for all of us. Elizabeth offers her a half-smile that edges on warmth. I hope you'll continue to do so. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a call to place with an ally on Wall Street. Let's see if we can cut off Renshaw's supply lines. She exits gracefully, leaving behind the faintest air of reassurance. Eric packs up his materials and approaches Jonathan. We're going to need a more detailed plan by end of day. I'll coordinate with the legal and PR teams. We can't let any minor rumor derail us now. Jonathan nods. Thank you, Eric. Keep me posted. Eric pauses, gaze shifting between Jonathan and Laura. Hang in there, both of you. Then he slips out, shutting the door quietly. Alone at the table, Jonathan and Laura exchange a fraught look. The meeting was a reprieve from the chaos of the tabloids, but Renshaw's threat looms larger than ever. Jonathan drums his fingers on the polished surface. We're making progress, but we're also racing against a clock. If Renshaw's partner is as powerful as we suspect, we don't have long before they move in for the kill. Laura edges closer, dropping her voice. I recognized a name in Eric's slides. Resurgo Holdings. It came up in the documents I found. Their CEO is a ghost. I tried to research him weeks ago and got nothing, not even a single photograph. Jonathan's brow furrows. A ghost partner would be perfect for Renshaw. No one to question, no public face. They could remain invisible while controlling half the scheme. He stands abruptly, crossing to the tall windows overlooking the city. The midday sun glints off countless skyscrapers, and somewhere within that concrete maze, Renshaw and his partner are plotting. His reflection shows a man on the edge, trying to protect his company, his unborn child, and a future he never expected to share with Laura again. Soft footsteps approach behind him. Laura gently touches his arm. "We'll figure this out. We have to, for everyone's sake." He turns, meeting her gaze. For a moment, the tensions fade, replaced by a raw familiarity. Once husband and wife, they now stand shoulder to shoulder against a threat neither can fully comprehend. "Let's keep pushing. Dig deeper on Resurgo Holdings. Keep an eye on Renshaw's associates. Whatever it takes to unmask that silent partner before they do irreparable damage." Laura's grip on his sleeve tightens in silent agreement. The synergy between them, forged in old love and renewed by crisis, feels tangible in the quiet boardroom. Tomorrow, they'll meet the next challenge. Tonight, they have to prepare for a battle that may define all their futures. Outside in the hallway, the hum of phones and echo of footsteps continue. More calls, more emails, another day in the life of a high-stakes empire. For Jonathan and Laura, the clock ticks, a metronome of mounting peril that draws them closer to secrets best unraveled quickly before time runs out. Late afternoon light falls in slanted rays across the executive floor, illuminating the frenetic energy that's built up throughout the day. Everyone at Bennett Enterprises seems on high alert. Managers talk in hushed tones, the PR department types furiously at their laptops, and members of the legal team scurry in and out of conference rooms. A sense of urgency crackles in the air, fueling adrenaline for tasks that can no longer wait. In Jonathan's corner office, the tension is palpable. Eric Roth stands by the window, phone pressed to his ear, speaking in clipped sentences. Laura occupies one of the sleek leather chairs, poring over an open laptop with rows of data shining back at her. Jonathan hovers over her shoulder, scanning the names and figures on screen. Sarah Davis waits by the door, tablet in hand, ready to coordinate any last-minute updates. Eric ends his call and pivots toward the group, worry etched into his features. "That was one of our main institutional investors. They've heard rumors that Victor Renshaw's company is about to launch a public campaign against us, something about leadership concerns and moral hazard. They're unnerved. If Renshaw convinces them to sell their stake, he could pick it up cheaply." Laura swivels in the chair, biting her lip in thought. "I've been digging into Resurgo Holdings, which showed up in the new documents we reviewed. They're definitely tied to Renshaw, lots of cross-referenced accounts. It's possible Resurgo is the ghost entity fueling a portion of these upcoming attacks." Jonathan's jaw clenches. "So they spread rumor after rumor, weaken our stock, then buy up panicked investors' shares. Once they gain enough influence, they either force me out or dismantle the company for profit. Classic Renshaw." Sarah glances at the clock on her tablet. "If they go public soon, we need a preemptive strike, maybe a press conference or a formal statement." Eric hesitates, crossing his arms. "A press conference could backfire if we don't have proof. Right now, it's our word against Renshaw's." Laura clicks through a few more files on her laptop. "We may have something more tangible than just hearsay. Here, this document chain shows a pattern. Shell companies buy shares one day, then resell them to Resurgo at a slight loss. Why? Possibly so Resurgo can consolidate ownership under the radar, making it look less suspicious than if they directly purchased from the open market." She angles the laptop so Eric and Jonathan can read the screen. "See how many times the trades happen at odd hours? Or in small lots just under the reporting requirement thresholds?" Eric grimaces. "This is definitely deliberate, but we still need a smoking gun, some piece of data that ties Resurgo directly to Renshaw." Jonathan runs a frustrated hand through his hair, scanning the lines of transactions. "We do have some data points showing a connection, but not something the public would understand immediately. No slam-dunk proof." He glances at Laura, remembering a piece of their earlier conversation. "You said your documents mentioned a CEO who's a ghost. Did you find a name? Any name at all?" She flips to another window. Right, let me see. The CEO is listed as Richard Cole, but there's almost nothing on him. No photo, no public statements, no LinkedIn. I found one obscure mention in a monthly business newsletter from 3 years ago. It called him the silent architect of emerging markets acquisitions, whatever that means. Eric exhales. So if Renshaw's the face and Cole is the shadow, they could be dividing the infiltration strategy. Renshaw keeps public pressure on, while Cole maneuvers finances behind the scenes. Sarah's phone buzzes. She checks it swiftly. Reporters again. They're persistent about your personal crisis. Some want to connect it to the rumor of corporate instability. Our PR department is holding the line, but they're pushing hard. A flicker of anger passes over Jonathan's features. They're using my private life as ammunition to paint me as a distracted CEO. If it weren't for Laura's pregnancy being real, I'd say we sue them all for libel, but we can't deny the baby's existence. Laura sets the laptop aside, stands, and approaches Jonathan. Don't let them twist this into a weakness. Show them it's not distracting you. You're in control of your life and your company. He meets her gaze, a flicker of gratitude in his eyes. You're right, he says quietly. Then, in a sharper tone for the room, Eric, Sarah, let's finalize the investor call schedule. I want personal outreach to every major shareholder by tomorrow morning. We reassure them that Bennett Enterprises is stable and profitable. We'll highlight our year-end projections. Those should calm fears if they see hard numbers. Eric gathers up the transaction printouts. On it, I'll get the accountants to finalize the forward outlook reports tonight. Then we schedule calls for early tomorrow. Jonathan turns to Laura. Keep digging for anything on this Richard Cole. If we can link him definitively to Renshaw, we can expose their plan. Then, even if we don't have an instant gotcha moment, at least we sow enough doubt to protect our share price. She nods, determination settling into her features. I'll do my best. Sarah glances at them both. The board is meeting informally again at 6. They might want you there, Jonathan, and Ms. Faulkner, if you have more insight. She hesitates. They've grown surprisingly open to hearing from you, Laura. Laura looks at Jonathan, waiting for his approval. His expression softens. Yes, let's bring her in. No reason to hide our best asset from the board. The word asset causes Laura's cheeks to flush, though she smiles. It's a far cry from the bitter silence after their divorce, and it reminds her of the days when Jonathan championed her intelligence and instincts at every turn. As Sarah, Eric, and Laura exit to tackle their assigned tasks, Jonathan lingers by the window, looking out at the city's skyline. The glimmer of glass and steel rises against the late afternoon sun, a reminder that power in this world is both fleeting and fiercely fought over. He's fought many times, business rivals, internal politics, a childhood shaped by meager beginnings, but never has it felt so personal. Renshaw's attack on the company, the spotlight turned on his unborn child, the press portraying him as vulnerable. A wave of protectiveness wells up in him. Protectiveness for Bennett Enterprises, for his child, and, strangely, for Laura, who's thrust into the spotlight with him. He can't help but wonder if Renshaw's silent partner has a personal motive, someone who despises Jonathan enough to orchestrate this from behind the scenes. Enemies are one thing, but an enemy fueled by revenge is a more dangerous force altogether. His phone rings. It's a reporter he's known casually for years, now demanding a quote on the rumored meltdown at Bennett Enterprises. Jonathan immediately rejects the call, heart pounding with frustration. Just as he sets the phone down, the landline on his desk rings with Sarah's voice. Jonathan, your father's on line too. He stiffens, a jolt of unease tightening his chest. He and his father have rarely spoken since he broke away to start Bennett Enterprises on his own. Did he say what it's about? Jonathan asks, voice taut. He said it's important, regarding the board meeting tonight. Sarah replies softly. Could Jonathan's father be yet another angle to this saga? Sighing, he picks up the receiver, bracing himself. Dad, what's going on? A measured voice replies, "I know you're dealing with a crisis, son. I have some advice. Could we meet privately?" Jonathan's gut churns. The last time his father tried to help, he ended up delivering a lecture about how Jonathan's approach to business was too aggressive, alienating potential allies. "I'm a bit busy," Jonathan says, carefully polite. "You can say what you need over the phone." A pause. "It's about Renshaw. Let's say I might know things you don't, going back a decade. If you want my insight, meet me at the Bellevue Club in an hour. I'll be waiting." The line clicks dead before Jonathan can respond. He sets down the receiver, mind whirling. His father was always a background figure in his career, more critical than supportive. Could he really have useful information about Renshaw's silent partner? "Jonathan?" Sarah's concerned voice on the intercom. "Everything okay?" He musters a quick reply. "Yes, let Eric know I'll miss that informal session at 6. I need to take care of something." Sarah hesitates, but doesn't pry. "Understood." Jonathan exhales, adrenaline surging anew. Part of him worries this meeting will be a waste of time. Another part knows he can't dismiss any lead, no matter how tenuous. If his father has kept secrets about Renshaw or someone from Jonathan's past, it might explain why the takeover feels so personal. He grabs his suit jacket and heads toward the door, texting Laura a quick note. "Going to chase a lead. Keep it the research. We'll fill you in later." Stepping onto the elevator alone, he steels himself for yet another confrontation. With each passing floor on the ride down, the tension coils tighter. Outside, the world is watching for any sign he's faltering. He won't falter. Not now. Not when so much hangs in the balance. In the lobby, flashes from paparazzi cameras burst anew, but he ignores them, sliding into the back seat of his chauffeured car. "Bellevue Club," he says curtly. As the car pulls away from Bennett Enterprises, Jonathan closes his eyes for a moment. Laura's faith in him, the board's wavering confidence, and the unborn child's future all weigh heavy. Whatever dark truths his father has guarded for a decade might finally spill forth. And if that knowledge helps him defeat Renshaw, he'll pay any price, even if it means dredging up parts of his past he'd rather leave buried. The Bellevue Club perches on a leafy hillside just outside the city, its sprawling grounds carefully manicured to exude understated luxury. Behind wrought iron gates and a winding driveway, the building itself is a testament to old money, an elegant stone facade, tall white columns, and ivy creeping tastefully across the exterior. It's the kind of place where power brokers conduct discreet meetings over brandy, shielded from the prying eyes of the press. Jonathan steps out of his car near the entrance, noting the classic sports cars and luxury sedans lined up in the valet circle. He hands his keys to a uniformed attendant and makes his way up the stone steps. A crisp, late-afternoon breeze rustles the neatly trimmed hedges, and for a moment, he's struck by déjà vu. He came here once, many years ago, under very different circumstances. His father had introduced him to a few potential mentors, men who made big promises if only Jonathan would follow their style of business. Jonathan had chosen his own path instead, and the rift with his father had only deepened from there. Inside, the Bellevue's foyer is hushed, accented by gleaming marble floors and richly paneled walls. A staff member in a tailored vest directs him with a polite nod. "Mr. Bennett is expecting you in the reading room." Walking through the softly lit corridors, Jonathan passes curated portraits of past club presidents and philanthropists. Here, conversations echo in whispered confidence. Deals happen quietly in corners, alliances forged and broken in the time it takes to finish a second glass of scotch. The subdued hum of money and influence permeates every inch of the place. He finds his father seated in a leather armchair beside a wide bay window that overlooks the club's garden. Gray flecks his temples, hair once dark like Jonathan's. His posture remains upright, with the quiet air of authority that used to unnerve Jonathan in his youth. On a side table sits a half-finished tumbler of amber liquid. Clearly, he started without his son. Jonathan exhales, steals his expression, and crosses the threshold. "Dad?" he greets with measured politeness. His father sets down the glass. "Jonathan," he replies. "Sit, please." Though the tone is cordial, Jonathan senses the tension crackling beneath. He settles into the armchair opposite, scanning his father's face. They share a passing resemblance, the same determined jawline, the same slight furrow when worried. It's a face Jonathan once looked up to, then resented, and now isn't sure how to feel about. The older man clears his throat. "You look well, if a bit tired. Hard times, I hear." "Nothing I can't handle," Jonathan says curtly. His father nods slowly, gaze drifting to the manicured grounds outside. "It's all over the news. Your ex-wife reappears, pregnant, the tabloids swarm. And that, combined with a rumored infiltration at your company. I suppose you're aware that Renshaw is behind at least part of it." Jonathan's jaw tightens. "I am, but I doubt you asked me here just to rehash headlines. You said you had information." He studies his father carefully, noticing subtle regret behind his eyes. "Yes, information from a decade ago, though the roots go back even further," his father replies, leaning forward. "I used to know Victor Renshaw socially. He was in my circle of acquaintances. Back then he was smaller, hungrier. He talked big, but no one really took him seriously." Jonathan arches a brow. "You told me once that you had no respect for Renshaw's methods." "That's true. He was and is ruthless, but he had a partner, even then. One who rarely showed his face but whispered in all the right ears. A man named Richard Cole." The name hits Jonathan like an electric jolt. Richard Cole is the rumored CEO of Resurgo Holdings. We suspected he's the ghost in all this. His father inclines his head. "Precisely. Cole was overshadowed by Renshaw's big persona, but behind closed doors, many believed Cole was the true mastermind. But there's more. At some point, Cole vanished. Some said he left for health reasons. Others claimed he and Renshaw had a falling out over strategic choices. I never learned the details." Jonathan's fingers curl over the armrest of the chair. "So you're telling me Cole has resurfaced to help Renshaw orchestrate a takeover of my company? Why? Did they harbor a specific vendetta against me?" His father's gaze drops to the swirling ice in his tumbler. Cole had ambitions that dwarfed even Renshaw's. He was fascinated by the concept of a new generation of business elites, people who'd risen from nothing and threatened to topple old established families. He pauses, swallowing. He once spoke of certain individuals who pretend to be self-made but actually rely on hidden resources. It was conspiratorial talk, but I suspect he started believing certain rising stars in the corporate world, like you, didn't deserve their meteoric success. A prickle of anger seeps through Jonathan's veins. "I built Bennett Enterprises from the ground up. Nobody gave me a handout. If Cole thinks I had hidden backers, he's dead wrong." "I know that," his father agrees softly. "But facts don't always matter to men like Cole. He's got a habit of manufacturing proof if it suits his ends, poisoning public perception. If he's found Renshaw again, their synergy could be catastrophic for you." Outside, dusk seeps into the sky, turning the garden's green hedges into dark silhouettes. Jonathan exhales, the weight of uncertain truths settling on him. "So what's the real reason you wanted me here, Dad? Are you just giving me a history lesson, or is there more?" His father leans back, expression heavy with reluctant concern. "I wanted you to know I regret not supporting you more. I criticized you, refused to invest in your ventures, let us drift apart. And now, seeing how these vultures circle you, I can't stand by." He reaches into his jacket, pulling out an old, battered notebook. "In here I have names, notes from gatherings, some minimal evidence that Cole has used shadow firms in the past to manipulate markets. It's no smoking gun, but it's a start. Back then, I didn't realize how valuable these scribblings might be. I just wrote them down out of curiosity. Jonathan carefully takes the notebook, flipping through its yellowed pages. They're covered with spidery handwriting referencing dinners, meeting locations, hush-hush negotiations, even second-hand whispers that Cole threatened to ruin entire families who crossed him. This might help us build a timeline, Jonathan murmurs. Prove that Renshaw and Cole have orchestrated hidden takeovers before. A flicker of genuine hope lights his father's eyes. If there's any chance it protects you, use it. And if you need more details, I'll do what I can. It's an unspoken olive branch, and for a moment, Jonathan feels a pang of gratitude, mixed with lingering resentment that it took so long for his father to step up. But with the fate of his company hanging in the balance, he can't afford pride. "Thank you," he says quietly. "This could be crucial. My CFO, Eric Roth, and Laura Faulkner have been piecing everything together. We need a link to prove Cole's involvement beyond a doubt." A faint smile touches his father's lips. "Your ex-wife helping you even now. I underestimated her. You always did too, I think." Jonathan lowers his gaze at the pointed observation. Memories flicker through his mind. Laura's unwavering support back in the early days, her open warmth when dealing with prospective investors, how she'd stand by his side despite his relentless drive. He'd once been certain she was the missing piece that balanced him until everything fell apart. "I won't make that mistake again," he says, voice hushed. After a brief lull, his father sets aside his glass. "Son, Renshaw's no small threat. He's grown powerful, and if he's reconnected with Cole, they may have resources far beyond what we can imagine. Watch your back, and watch your heart, because they'll attack from every angle, including personal." Jonathan stiffens, recalling how the tabloids pounced on Laura's pregnancy, twisting it into a scandal. "I've already seen that. They're using me and Laura against each other in the press, as if her carrying my child is proof I'm unfit to lead." His father's expression darkens. "Exactly. Cole will exploit any vulnerability. Don't give him an opening. Stay united with your allies, the board, that woman. Only through unity will you survive this." A staffer passes through the reading room, carrying a tray of refreshments, and politely averts his gaze. The father and son conversation is clearly intense, and no one in this discreet club wants to intrude. Jonathan carefully tucks the old notebook into his inside jacket pocket, feeling the brittle pages crackle against the fabric. "I appreciate this, Dad. I truly do." His father nods, a hint of relief evident. "Good. I suspect that if you can tie Cole to Resurgo Holdings, you'll crack open their entire plot. But be wary. Cole uses shell companies like a spider uses webs. He weaves them around unsuspecting prey until there's no escape." Rising from the armchair, Jonathan extends a hand. There's an odd finality to the gesture. His father stands as well, hesitating only a moment before clasping Jonathan's hand in a firm shake. In that fleeting contact, a lifetime of distance and regret brims between them, followed by a shared resolve that somehow they must move beyond it. "I'll be in touch," Jonathan says, stepping back. "We have an emergency board session soon. I need to show them we have leads, real evidence. If you remember anything else, any detail, call me." His father inclines his head. "I will." Then, more gently, "Take care, son." Leaving the reading room, Jonathan navigates the plush corridors of the Bellevue Club with long strides, mind aflame with new possibilities. Cole had once vanished from the business scene, but apparently he's returned to orchestrate a cunning infiltration with Renshaw's help. And now Jonathan holds a precious piece of the puzzle. His father's old notebook, a relic from a time before Bennett Enterprises ever existed. Outside, the sky has surrendered to twilight. The chauffeur pulls up, and Jonathan slides into the back seat. As the car merges with the city's rush-hour traffic, he scans the notebook again under the dome light. Each scribbled note, each cryptic reference might be another step towards saving his company and preventing these men from destroying everything he values, including the future of his unborn child. He checks the time and sends a terse text to Eric and Laura. Meeting successful. Got crucial info on Cole. Let's regroup ASAP. A moment later, Laura replies, Understood. I found a possible lead too. We'll explain when you're back. The synergy between them bolsters his confidence. Once, their marriage had promise. Even if that promise slipped away in a torrent of misunderstandings and ambition, they're forging a new alliance in the face of crisis. And ironically, it might be stronger than anything they had before. Jonathan stares out the car window at the glittering skyline. He's preparing to enter the final stretch of a battle that feels more personal each day. Cole and Renshaw lurk in the shadows, weaving strategies to rip away his legacy. But now he's armed with the weapon of knowledge, gleaned from an unlikely source, his own father, and reinforced by the unwavering support of Laura and his inner circle. As the city lights blur past, Jonathan breathes steadily, centering himself. The next move belongs to him. Make it strong, make it count. Because with one false step, everything could collapse, leaving Renshaw and Cole triumphant over a broken empire and a shattered family's future. He won't allow that. Not now. Not ever. Night settles over the city in a blaze of neon reflections and roaring traffic. Back on the executive floor of Bennett Enterprises, a palpable sense of urgency pulsates through the corridors. Overhead lights illuminate scattered desks where staff members burn the midnight oil, compelled to stay by rumors of impending corporate chaos. Jonathan rushes off the private elevator, clutching the old notebook from his father. Immediately, Sarah intercepts him with a stack of fresh documents. Glad you're back. Eric's in the main conference room with Laura. They found something. Said it's urgent. He nods, mouth tight, and strides down the hallway. He passes glass-enclosed offices where employees work grimly at computers, each on a mission to hold the fort against an unseen invader. The conference room door is ajar, revealing Laura hunched over a laptop while Eric thumbs through financial statements. They look up when Jonathan enters. Laura notices the notebook tucked under his arm. "What's that?" she asks, curiosity piqued. "My father's notes," he answers simply, trying not to let the emotional weight of that statement show. He sets it on the conference table. He kept record of Cole's early activities, a decade ago before Renshaw rose to real power. It might be the missing link we need to show how long they've been planning these tactics. Eric's eyes widen. If we can match any of those notes to the shell companies we're currently seeing, dates, addresses, maybe partial accounts, it could be a breakthrough. He gestures at the open spreadsheet on the screen. We've discovered that Resurgo Holdings, supposedly run by this Richard Cole, is connected to more than a dozen smaller ventures, each snapping up our shares. The problem is, the connections are buried under layers of offshore paperwork. Laura pushes a page of printouts toward Jonathan. While you were out, I managed to trace a thread from Resurgo to one particular law firm based in Luxembourg. They specialize in privacy, which usually means obfuscating who actually owns what. If we cross-reference names in your father's notebook with the Luxembourg firm's client list, we might tie them together. He nods, flipping quickly through the scribbled pages, entries referencing hush-hush dinners, legal arrangements, and cryptic acronyms. My father also mentioned there was once talk that Cole had unusual methods. He'd fabricate evidence against rivals, leak personal secrets, essentially force them into submission. Laura's lips tighten. We already saw how they tried to exploit your personal crisis, my pregnancy, to paint you as unstable. That's textbook Cole if he's behind the scenes. Eric grimaces. Then we need a counterattack, fast. By tomorrow, I have to deliver a summary to the board on how we'll block any takeover. If we reveal even a fraction of Cole's shady dealings, it might buy us time. The board is terrified, Jonathan. Some are talking about transitioning leadership to a neutral party if the scandal grows. Meaning they'll sacrifice me to the wolves? Jonathan's jaw clenches in anger. I won't let Renshaw or Cole dethrone me. I built this company. I'll protect it. A resolute silence follows, each of them grappling with the severity of the threat. Then Jonathan snaps into motion, handing out tasks like a battlefield commander. Eric, compile every tie from the notebook to Resurgo, even if it's just a whisper. We'll cross-check addresses and contact dates with modern registries. Laura, contact that Luxembourg firm under some pretense, any lead to crack open their secrecy. And see if we can find direct links to Cole in public databases, no matter how obscure. Eric starts typing away on his phone, presumably rallying more staff. Laura eyes the clock, already inching closer to midnight. Exhaustion weighs on her, but she pushes it aside. What about you? Jonathan exhales. I'll phone keyboard members tonight, reassure them I have proof that Renshaw is orchestrating a hostile move. Then I'll talk with our general counsel and see if we can file a preliminary injunction to slow these share acquisitions. It's risky, but might work. A faint beep from Laura's laptop draws her attention. She glances at the screen, surprised. Hold on. I just got an email from an unknown sender. She clicks, scanning the contents. It's a tip. Someone claims to have seen Richard Cole in New York last week, meeting with Renshaw's people. They attached a low-quality security cam still. She turns the laptop around. The image is grainy. Just two blurry figures in what looks like a hotel hallway. One is clearly Renshaw. The other is taller, wearing a cap and half turned away from the camera. But the timestamp shows 3 days ago. It's possible, likely, this is Cole. Eric rubs his temples. If that's legit, it places them together recently. Could help confirm Cole's involvement. Jonathan's eyes narrow. Forward that to legal and the PR team. It's not conclusive, but it adds one more brick to the wall. Whoever sent it might be an insider wanting to undermine Renshaw. Laura nods. Done. She fires off the email. For a moment, the three trade glances. They've pieced together puzzle fragments from multiple sources. An old notebook, shell company data, a mystery email. The image forming is of a carefully orchestrated scheme designed to topple Bennett Enterprises at the precise moment Jonathan appears most vulnerable. A shadow crosses Laura's expression, and she rests a hand on her abdomen. Jonathan notices the gesture. Everything okay? She attempts a reassuring smile. Yeah, it's been a long day on my feet and the stress isn't helping. He's about to suggest she go rest when Eric interjects. You know, we might be here all night. Jonathan, maybe you and Laura should take a moment. I can handle the data cross-check. Laura quickly shakes her head. I'm fine, Eric. This is bigger than me. We need all hands. But Jonathan steps closer, voice gently insistent. 10 minutes, Laura. Let's step out. Clear our heads. Though reluctant, she nods. Her body does feel tense, and the baby's subtle flutters remind her of her new reality. Eric and Jonathan exchange a grateful look. Then Jonathan motions for her to follow him. They exit the conference room, ignoring the curious gazes from late-working employees, and slip into a smaller lounge area with floor-to-ceiling windows showing the city's nighttime glow. He offers her a seat on a comfortable sofa. A quiet, dim lamp casts a pool of light around them, creating a temporary oasis from the swirl of crisis. Laura sinks into the cushions, exhaling wearily. Jonathan remains standing, arms crossed, as he gazes at her. You know, he says softly, I never wanted you to be caught in the crossfire like this. It feels like everything I feared, my enemies targeting what I care about most, is coming true. She looks up, her tone gentle. I chose to come to you. I knew the risks. I couldn't stand by while you were blindsided. And this child is yours too. We both have skin in the game. His expression flickers with regret and gratitude. I owe you. Big time. Laura's eyes glimmer with emotion. We've both made mistakes. But honestly, I'm not here to collect a debt. I'm here because, despite everything, I care about you. And I won't let Renshaw or this Cole guy tear you down." Those words settle between them, resonating with the familiar warmth of a bond they thought was gone. Outside, the city's lights twinkle, oblivious to the corporate war brewing inside these walls. Jonathan finally sinks onto the sofa beside her, close but not touching. "When I met with my father, I realized something. I spent so much energy trying to prove I didn't need his support that I became closed off. Even when it came to you, it wasn't fair." Laura's gaze softens, recalling the distance that grew between them. One argument at a time, one late business trip after another. "I know I felt shut out of your world. That's why Well, we can't change the past." He nods, exhaling a silent apology for all the hurt. Then his hand moves gently, covering hers. "What we can do is stand together now, save Bennett Enterprises, and protect our child's future." She glances at his hand, a faint blush coloring her cheeks. Yet she doesn't pull away. "Agreed." A moment of quiet understanding passes, a fragile thread connecting them more intimately than business ever could. Then Jonathan notices the time on his phone. The sense of urgency creeps back. "We should get back. There's still so much to do." Laura straightens, smoothing down her blouse. "Yes. Let's see how Eric's doing with that cross-check." They stand in unison, heading to the door. Just before Jonathan opens it, he stops, turning to her with a half-smile. "Laura, we're going to get through this. Together." Her own smile emerges, lighter than anything he's seen from her in weeks. "Yes, we will." Returning to the conference room, they find Eric hunched over multiple spreadsheets, occasionally scratching notes in the margin. He looks up expectantly. "You two ready to dive in?" Jonathan and Laura share one final glance, then nod. "Absolutely," Jonathan says. "Let's end this takeover before it even begins." In the window's reflection, 3 determined figures gather around the table, unified by a crisis that might have destroyed them individually. Outside, the city hums in nocturnal rhythm. But inside Bennett Enterprises, the night is young. There are truths to uncover, deals to thwart, and a future to reclaim. And with each new clue, they move closer to the final confrontation with Renshaw, Cole, and the hidden web threatening everything they hold dear. A thin band of orange light peeks over the skyline as the clock in Jonathan's office strikes 6 in the morning. The bustling metropolis is waking up, but here on the executive floor, the staff is groggily finishing an all-nighter of data wrangling and strategic planning. Paper coffee cups and half-eaten takeout boxes clutter tables in the main conference room, where Eric Roth and a couple of junior analysts power through the last of the transaction cross-checks. Jonathan and Laura emerge from a private corner where they were combing through a new set of files. They look exhausted, but resolute. Laura rubs her neck, fighting a wave of fatigue. Jonathan gently places a hand on her shoulder. "You should rest," he murmurs. "You're running on fumes." She shakes her head, summoning a weary smile. "I'll rest when this is over. We're close, Jonathan. I can feel it." At the front of the room, Eric pinches the bridge of his nose. "Good, you're back." He taps on his laptop screen, glancing up. "We've verified a direct paper trail linking Resurgo Holdings to a Luxembourg-based trust. And that trust shows up in your father's notes from 9 years ago, referencing a shell company Cole allegedly used for another hostile takeover. The details match suspiciously well." Jonathan sets down the manila folder he's been carrying. "That's our connection, then. If we show this to the board, they'll see Renshaw's silent partner is Cole, using the same tactics he employed years ago." Eric nods but looks uneasy. "Right. However, there's a problem. The trust is legally protected by Luxembourg banking laws, so we can't just waltz in and subpoena them. And if Cole realizes we're onto him, he might wipe his tracks again." Laura frowns. "We need something more concrete, something that'll stand up in court, or at least sway the board and big investors." Right now it's still circumstantial, even if it's compelling. Jonathan sighs, running a hand through his disheveled hair. Okay, so we have enough for a press strategy, but maybe not enough for a courtroom strategy. At least the board can't say we're basing this on gossip. From the hallway, Sarah Davis appears with a phone in hand, her eyes flashing with concern. Jonathan, there's a call for you. They said it's urgent. Someone from your past. They wouldn't give their name, but they mentioned Cole and insisted you'd want to speak. He and Laura exchange a wary glance. Put them through on speaker in my office, Jonathan says. He motions for Eric and Laura to come along. Inside the sleek expanse of Jonathan's corner office, Sarah taps the console. The line clicks, crackles, then settles into muffled static. A distorted voice filters through, either disguised or in a location with poor reception. Jonathan Bennett, the voice begins, gender indiscernible through the distortion. I have information about Richard Cole, information that could make or break your fight against him. Jonathan stiffens. Who is this? How did you get my private line? That doesn't matter. What matters is that Cole has set a trap you're about to walk into. Renshaw's smear campaign is just the start. They're planning a board coup. They have 2 of your directors in their pocket, ready to vote against you at today's emergency session. The mention of 2 compromised board members sends alarm through the room. Eric's mouth goes dry. Laura leans forward, eyes narrowing. How do we know you're telling the truth? Jonathan demands. Which directors? Give me proof. A stifled laugh crackles over the speaker. Proof? You'll have all you need soon. Suffice it to say, Renshaw promised those directors lucrative positions if they help oust you. Once you're gone, Cole plans to strip Bennett Enterprises for its patents and real estate assets. Renshaw gets the rest. Jonathan's pulse pounds. And what do you get out of warning me? A beat of silence. Then the voice answers, I have my reasons. Cole's done me wrong too. I can't show myself publicly, but if you want to see something concrete, be at the old Riverside Foundry tonight at 8. Come alone. Jonathan glances at Laura and Eric, both looking alarmed at the notion of a clandestine meeting. Why there? That place has been abandoned for years. Let's just say it's a safe spot for this kind of exchange, the distorted caller replies tersely. Decide quickly. If you want to stop Cole, you'll need more than a few scraps of paper and a half-baked scandal. The line clicks off before Jonathan can argue further. Dead air hangs in the room. He pinches the bridge of his nose in frustration. Abandoned foundry, after dark. This screams setup. Laura crosses her arms, her gaze flashing with worry. It could be a trap, yes. But if it's real, we might gain the hard evidence we need to expose Cole. Your father's notes and our research only go so far in convincing people. Eric drops into a chair, looking exhausted. This is risky. What if it's someone on Renshaw's payroll trying to lure you out and feed you misinformation, or worse? Sarah, who's been standing silently, finally speaks. You can't go alone, Jonathan. Let security accompany you. He shakes his head. If this caller wanted to ambush me, they'd expect I'd bring a team. Better not to tip my hand. Maybe I can have security nearby. But first we focus on the board meeting today. We need to shore up votes before any coup can happen. Eric scrubs a hand over his face. All right, we'll handle the board, but remember, they might already have 2 members in their pocket. That means we have to be airtight in our presentation. No panic, no hesitation. Jonathan turns to Laura, who reads his gaze and finishes his thought. And I'll keep digging for anything to confirm this phone call's claims. Maybe we can expose who's compromised on the board before we even walk into that session. Her words resonate. Together they piece out an urgent battle plan. Jonathan will spend the morning meeting key board members one-on-one, reinforcing loyalty and unveiling partial evidence of Cole's scheme. He'll do everything to keep them from jumping ship. Laura and Eric will deepen the investigation, scanning emails, transactions, and background checks on each board member, searching for any sign of sudden wealth or suspicious behavior. Sarah will coordinate with security and discreetly plan backup if Jonathan indeed goes to the Riverside Foundry that night. The next hours tumble into a blur of huddled conversations and frantic phone calls. Jonathan closes his office door for back-to-back private discussions with board members, each time emphasizing the threat to Bennett Enterprises. He presents enough evidence to sow doubt about Renshaw's intentions, but not so much that word of Cole's identity leaks out prematurely. Most nod along, assuaged, but a few remain guarded, especially two mid-level directors who dodge specifics and offer lukewarm assurances. Jonathan leaves those meetings uneasy, wondering if these are the very individuals the distorted caller warned about. Meanwhile, Laura and Eric work methodically at a side station. Laura inputs board names into a search algorithm keyed to suspicious financial activity, offshore accounts, drastic credit changes, unexplained inflows of cash. Eric pores over old meeting minutes for patterns of voting or policy stances that might signal hidden allegiance. By noon, their findings point to something chillingly concrete. Both directors Jonathan felt uneasy about show subtle anomalies. One received a large deposit in a Cayman account 2 weeks prior, the other abruptly settled substantial debts and paid off a second mortgage. Neither transaction has a clear origin. Laura flags these details, heart pounding. This has to be it. They're being paid off to vote against Jonathan or stage a leadership shakeup. Eric nods grimly. How do we confront them? We can't accuse them publicly without solid proof the money came from Cole or Renshaw. Laura's eyes flick to the clock on the wall. We have the emergency board meeting at 5. If we do nothing, they might move to sabotage Jonathan right then. Maybe we can corner them privately first. In Jonathan's office, they share the discovery. His face darkens. So the caller's story checks out. Two compromised directors, primed for a betrayal. We have to neutralize them before the meeting. Sarah steps forward. Jonathan, you could quietly show them you know about the transactions and imply consequences. Sometimes that's enough for turncoats to reconsider. He mulls it over, arms folded. Yes, but carefully. If they feel threatened, they might dig in deeper. We need leverage. Laura presses a folder into his hand. This is all the data linking their bank activity to shell accounts with partial Renshaw ties. It's not ironclad, but it should scare them. They'll realize we can expose their misconduct if they try to push you out. Glancing between the determined faces around him, Jonathan nods. All right, let's do this. I'll call them in, one by one, before the board session. See if we can shake their confidence in Renshaw's grand plan. The tension ratchets higher as the clock edges toward mid-afternoon. Jonathan arranges short notice, citing urgent private conversations with each suspect director. The first to arrive, Mr. Forrest, is a wiry man in his early 50s. He sits stiffly in Jonathan's office, making awkward small talk until Jonathan cuts straight to the point. Mr. Forrest, Jonathan says, voice calm but firm, I've become aware of some unusual financial movements linked to your accounts, large sums arriving from entities with ties to the Renshaw Group. Care to explain? Forrest blanches but tries to recover. That's a personal matter. I assure you it has no bearing on my duties as a director. It does if you're taking bribes to undermine Bennett Enterprises, Jonathan counters smoothly. He slides the folder across the desk. Those are the records. I have more. Forrest's forehead beads with sweat. He fidgets with his tie, eyes darting to the window. Look, I got in over my head. Debts, personal issues. When this opportunity arose, I took it. But I had no idea Renshaw planned anything that drastic. He made it sound like a routine board restructuring. Jonathan's stomach roils with disgust. He fights to keep his voice measured. Routine board restructuring is a neat euphemism for a coup. You can't go through with it. If you do, I'll expose every detail of your involvement, and you'll face legal repercussions. Forrest's face crumples. I'll lose everything if Renshaw finds out I've betrayed him, but I can't risk a lawsuit or jail time either. So, what do you want? Vote with integrity, Jonathan says icily. Don't let Renshaw or Cole influence you. Withdraw your support from their scheme. If you do that, I'll consider this matter closed." Forrest nods rapidly, relief warring with fear. "Oh, okay, I'll do as you say. Just keep my name out of the scandal." Jonathan gives a curt nod. "We'll see. Now get out of here." Next comes Ms. Simmons, a composed woman in a tailored blazer. She tries to feign ignorance when Jonathan confronts her with similar evidence of offshore windfalls. But seeing she's cornered, she changes tactics, deflecting blame onto Renshaw. "He tricked me, said it was a legitimate consulting retainer. I never wanted to hurt the company." Jonathan forces calm. "You already have, but you can at least set it right at this evening's meeting. Vote for Bennett Enterprises' future, not Renshaw's takeover. Am I clear?" Her chin trembles. "Yes, Jonathan, I'll do it. You have my word." By the time she scurries out, Jonathan releases a shaky exhale, rage simmering. He never thought he'd see the day when his own directors could be bought, yet here it is, plain as day. Betrayal, right within his trusted circle. Eric and Laura, who've been waiting in the hallway, step in once Ms. Simmons leaves. Laura's eyes flick to Jonathan's grim expression. "Did it work?" He nods stiffly. They folded, promised to abandon Renshaw's plan, but whether they'll actually keep that promise remains to be seen. Eric glances at his watch. "We have less than an hour till the full board convenes. We should finalize our presentation on Cole's infiltration to be sure every honest director stands with you." Jonathan's gaze slips to the window, where the sun casts elongated shadows across the bustling city. The board meeting might be their best chance to deter an outright coup. After that, he'll still have to deal with the mysterious caller's invitation at the Riverside Foundry, a risk that could either deliver the final piece of evidence or be a deadly trap. He looks back at Laura, feeling an inexplicable surge of gratitude for her unwavering presence. Despite the meltdown of their marriage, she's fighting by his side, defending the company and the child they share. "Let's do it," he says, voice low but resolute. "We face the board, show them what we've got. If Renshaw's stooges do try anything, we'll crush it before it starts." Laura squeezes his arm briefly. "We're with you." In a swift flurry of last-minute checks, the three confirm their key arguments, finalize slides, and brace themselves for the pivotal clash. Outside the conference room's glass walls, other department heads gather, anxious, sensing the gravity of the moment. The future of Bennett Enterprises hinges on this meeting, and beyond it, an even more perilous confrontation lurks in the night. They step in together, side by side, prepared to unmask traitors, defend the legacy Jonathan's built, and protect the unborn child who deserves a stable inheritance rather than a dismantled empire. The door closes behind them, sealing them into the crucible where they'll stand against fear, betrayal, and the stealthy maneuvers of a deadly adversary. One final test before the darkness descends, and possibly with it, the last chance to save everything they hold dear. When Jonathan steps into the glass-walled boardroom, he can sense the tension simmering like a storm about to break. The directors sit in a semicircle around the polished oak table, side conversations muted. If anyone needed proof of high stakes, they need only observe the way shoulders stay rigid, jaws clench, and eyes flick between seats. Everyone knows this emergency session will determine the fate of Bennett Enterprises. Laura and Eric follow close behind him, each armed with binders of evidence. Sarah Davis lurks near the doorway, prepared to summon more data or manage any outside crisis. As the massive doors close, sealing them in, Jonathan notices the two directors who nearly betrayed him, Forrest and Simmons, studiously avoiding his gaze. It's unclear if they'll truly stand down or if Renshaw still holds their loyalty. Elizabeth Clark, the silver-haired board member who's long been an ally of Jonathan, clears her throat and addresses the group. "We called this meeting to discuss the alarming reports of potential share manipulation and external forces aiming to seize control of Bennett Enterprises. Let's proceed with transparency and unity. Charles Morrison, another influential member, leans forward. Jonathan, you and your team have been investigating the matter, correct? What have you found? With a nod to Eric, Jonathan takes the spotlight. We've confirmed that Victor Renshaw has been acquiring shares through shell accounts for months, but he isn't acting alone. His partner, a man named Richard Cole, specializes in orchestrating stealth takeovers and dismantling companies. He clicks a small remote, displaying slides on a screen behind him. Transaction charts, references to offshore funds, and partial company ownership lists. Laura stands at his right, poised to supplement his explanation. Her presence catches some glances, but no one openly challenges why the ex-wife is standing at the front of the room. They can sense she's part of the solution. Jonathan continues, voice measured. Cole historically works from the shadows. We've tracked a paper trail from a Luxembourg law firm to Resurgo Holdings, the entity he uses. My father's old notes corroborate Cole's tactics from a decade ago, and these behaviors match what's happening here. A hush falls as board members digest the implications. In the back, Forrest and Simmons exchange tense looks. Are they convinced? Will they still attempt a coup? Laura steps forward, gesturing to the screen, which now shows a low-quality security camera still, the one from the mystery email. Here's a recent shot of Renshaw meeting what we strongly believe to be Cole. The date stamp is 3 days ago. Their timing aligns with this attempt to destabilize Bennett Enterprises through leaked rumors, media attacks, and strategic share buys. Morrison frowns deeply. If these men succeed in wresting control, our patents, real estate, and brand assets would be sold off? That's exactly their playbook, Eric says, arms crossed. They come in under false pretenses, promise certain board members perks, and once in control, they strip the company for maximum profit. Another board member, a gray-suited woman named Patrice Vogel, raises her hand. Jonathan, you mentioned we already have potential infiltration on the board. Is that speculation, or do you have proof? Before Jonathan can answer, Elizabeth Clark interjects, her voice calm but firm. We would be naive to assume the board is immune from outside persuasion. It wouldn't be the first time corporate saboteurs tried to co-opt directorial votes. For a tense moment, Jonathan weighs whether to expose Forrest and Simmons in front of everyone. He recalls how they panicked behind closed doors. Embarrassing them publicly could backfire, but if he says nothing, they might still be pressured by Renshaw. Clearing his throat, Jonathan decides on a measured approach. We do have indications that 2 directors were approached by Renshaw's intermediaries with financial enticements. I prefer not to name them publicly, as I believe they've chosen to reject those offers after realizing the full extent of the plot. He glances pointedly at Forrest and Simmons. Both stare at their folded hands, guilt evident in their pallor. It's enough to prompt murmurs across the room. Clearly, the rest of the board senses the weight of Jonathan's implication. Charles Morrison pounces. If they were bribed, how can we trust them now? Because I believe they realize the stakes, Jonathan says diplomatically, though his tone resonates with a warning. Any move to betray the company will not only be met with legal action, it'll be a betrayal of everyone here who worked to build Bennett Enterprises. That threat hangs in the air like a thundercloud. Simmons shifts uneasily. Forrest exhales shakily. They give almost imperceptible nods, enough to reassure Jonathan they'll stay in line for now. Elizabeth Clark reclaims the floor. So the question becomes, how do we defend against this takeover attempt? That's where we present a united front, Eric explains, scanning the room. We launch a strategic buyback of shares, reinforce our largest investors' confidence, and simultaneously pursue legal measures to freeze suspicious stock under potential fraud investigations. We've drafted a plan. He gestures to the distribution of thick packets Sarah hands out, each detailing the proposed steps. Board members thumb through the pages, some scrutinizing the cost and risks involved. Morrison reads quickly, then lifts his gaze. This is aggressive, Jonathan. A multi-pronged effort that could strain our capital for a while. Are you sure we can bear it? Jonathan squares his shoulders. We can. It requires short-term sacrifices, but it's better than letting Renshaw bleed us dry. This is about preserving our future. Whispers of agreement and nods spread across the table. Elizabeth, scanning the room, appears satisfied by the unity forming. All right then. Unless there's objection, I propose we vote on this defense strategy immediately. In a nervous shuffle, the board goes around, each member stating aye or yes. Forrest and Simmons hesitate, exchanging a final glance, then echo, aye. The motion passes unanimously. A wave of relief washes over Jonathan. He'd been half afraid of an ambush, but it seems his preemptive confrontation worked. Still, the war isn't won. This victory is only the first line of defense. Excellent, Elizabeth declares. We'll implement these measures at once. Our next step is ensuring public relations align with our internal stance. Laura, stepping forward again, musters her remaining energy. I'll coordinate with the PR team for a press release. We'll keep it succinct, mentioning we're proactively protecting shareholder value against potential manipulation. We don't need to mention Renshaw or Cole by name yet. Elizabeth nods, relief etched on her features. Agreed. We'll reconvene in 72 hours to review progress. And Jonathan? She meets his gaze. Thank you for bringing this to light before it was too late. He inclines his head, exhaling the tension binding his chest. Thank you all for standing by the company. As the meeting breaks, directors file out with a mixture of urgency and cautious optimism. Jonathan shakes a few hands, exchanging grateful words. Forrest and Simmons both linger, casting him anxious looks. He gives them a curt nod, silently conveying that their betrayal won't be forgotten, but nor will it be exposed further, as long as they cooperate. Finally, only Jonathan, Laura, Eric, and Sarah remain in the quiet, now empty boardroom. A collective sense of relief mingles with the adrenaline still coursing through them. The city lights outside begin to yield to dusk. Another day draws to a close, but for them, a critical battle has just been fought and won, at least on paper. Eric rakes a hand through his hair. Well, that's one crisis averted. The board's on our side for now. Laura checks her phone. Which means we have the rest of the evening to solidify our investor relations and to figure out this Riverside Foundry situation. Are you really going, Jonathan? He hesitates, recalling the distorted caller's warning that Cole's setting a trap and the invitation to meet at the abandoned foundry. It could be a golden chance to secure hard evidence or a catastrophic risk. Yes, he finally says, voice quiet. I can't pass up the chance to get definitive proof, but I'll go in carefully and I want security nearby, out of sight though. Sarah's expression is grim. I'll arrange an off-duty team. They'll keep a perimeter. Eric hands Jonathan his phone, now loaded with updated data. I've reinforced everything we have on Cole and Renshaw in case you need it. But please, Jonathan, be careful. Laura steps closer, gently brushing Jonathan's arm. You're not going alone. I'm coming. His gut twists with a mix of appreciation and worry. It's too dangerous. If it's a setup... I know, she interrupts, but we can't pretend I'm not already exposed. They know who I am, and they've tried to use my pregnancy against you. I want to see this through for both of us. He searches her face, recognizes the same fierce resolve that once drew him to her. All right, he concedes softly. But stay behind me. If anything goes sideways, you leave. Promise me that. She sets her jaw. I promise to be safe, but I won't just vanish if you're in danger. A wave of conflicting emotions wells in Jonathan's chest. Gratitude, protectiveness, lingering guilt. He simply nods. Sarah glances between them. The foundry's in a rough part of town out by the old docks. You'll need to be there by 8. Yeah, Jonathan confirms. Time enough to rest for a moment and get our plans straight. He looks to Eric. Coordinate with security, finalize the buyback, and freeze procedures. Tomorrow, we'll push ahead with the board's strategy." Eric and Sarah exchange a sober glance. Then Eric grips Jonathan's shoulder. "We've got your back. Both of you. Bring home whatever proof this is, and watch yourselves." When he and Laura exit the room, they make their way to Jonathan's office to gather personal belongings. Dim corridor lights reflect off the polished floor. Dozens of employees have already gone home, the day's battles replaced by the hush of near-empty halls. A few stragglers murmur their congratulations on the board's unity, but mostly keep their distance, sensing the gravity of Jonathan's next move. He and Laura reach his office door, stepping inside the familiar space that served as both fortress and prison over the years. The view outside shows a darkening sky streaked with red and purple, a dramatic backdrop for the approaching night's confrontation. Laura steadies herself, fatigue evident in her eyes, but unwavering. "You sure you're ready for this?" Jonathan stands tall, scanning the city lights. "No, but I have no choice. If the caller can give us real ammunition against Cole, that might ensure no one ever tries this again." She steps closer. In the hush of the office, her voice is gentle. "Then let's face whatever's waiting together." They share a moment, an unspoken understanding that, whatever estranged them before, circumstances have forged them into a formidable alliance now. Outside, the day's final glow fades into twilight, heralding the uncertain hours ahead. Jonathan checks his watch. 7:15. Time to prepare for the final, most dangerous rendezvous yet. As they exit Bennett Enterprises, they step into the cool evening air. Laura gathers her coat around her. Jonathan casts one last look up at the tower bearing his name. He silently vows it won't fall, no matter how cunning Cole and Renshaw may be. Across town, the Riverside Foundry waits, its crumbling walls and rusted machinery a perfect stage for secrets to be revealed or a trap to be sprung. Another test of faith and fortitude looms, and with each passing minute, they get closer to an answer that could save or destroy everything they've fought to protect. The Riverside Foundry sits on a desolate stretch of waterfront once brimming with industry. Decades ago, it spewed smoke and fire into the sky, forging steel for a booming economy. Now, it's a rusting carcass of girders and crumbling concrete walls, half reclaimed by nature. Sparse moonlight bathes the jagged structures, giving them a ghostly, surreal look. Overhead, clouds drift across an anemic moon, painting the scene in shifting shadows. Jonathan's SUV parks a cautious distance away. An unmarked security vehicle follows, discreetly taking position behind stacks of abandoned shipping containers. Laura sits beside Jonathan in the SUV's back seat, her coat draped protectively over her pregnant belly. She looks at him, eyes reflecting equal parts determination and fear. "You sure about this?" she whispers. He nods. "We need that evidence. If this is real, it ends tonight. If it's a trap—" He shrugs a shoulder, unwilling to voice the worst possibilities. "Stay close. Do exactly what we planned. Our team is watching from a distance." She squeezes his hand briefly. Outside, a faint breeze stirs plastic debris across the cracked pavement. The structure's jagged silhouettes loom ahead, each opening in the walls like a dark mouth inviting them in. They exit the vehicle. Immediately, the autumn chill hits them. Laura folds her arms against the cold, while Jonathan keeps a sharp lookout. No sign of movement. No other cars. The only sounds are the distant lap of water against the docks and the rustle of weeds pushing through the foundry's concrete floors. He pulls out his phone. 7:58. They're nearly on time. The caller insisted on an 8 p.m. meeting. Jonathan nods to the security men who remain hidden behind the container stacks, poised to intervene if danger appears. Quietly, he and Laura pick their way toward a massive hangar-like entrance, stepping over twisted rebar and shattered glass. Inside, the foundry's main chamber is vast and eerie. Moonlight spills through gaping holes in the roof, illuminating clusters of abandoned machinery, cranes, conveyor belts, an empty furnace. Rust clings to every surface, and the stale air carries a faint scent of decay. Laura catches her breath. The place feels haunted by the ghosts of a collapsed industry. Jonathan scans the darkness. "Hello?" he calls, voice echoing off metal beams. "We're here." Only silence greets them at first. Then, from the far side, a single flashlight beam flickers on, revealing the silhouette of a person wearing a hooded jacket. They stand some 30 yards away, half hidden behind a collapsed scaffolding. "Stop there!" the figure demands, voice garbled by the same distortion they used on the phone. Laura tenses beside Jonathan, but he gently raises a hand in a sign of compliance. "All right," he says. "We came as requested. Show us what you've got." The figure's flashlight wavers. "Not so fast. I need to ensure you're alone. Renshaw might have followed you." Laura looks around, then gestures to the darkness. "We have security outside, but they won't interfere unless something goes wrong." A tense moment passes. Slowly, the figure steps forward. Their face remains obscure, covered by the hood and a half mask. When they speak, the distortion is less pronounced, but still present. "I brought something that proves Cole's methods. Bank statements, emails, voice recordings, even a partial video of him admitting he's orchestrating your downfall." Jonathan's heart leaps. "That's exactly what we need, but why help us? Who are you?" The hooded individual hesitates as if choosing words. "Let's just say I once worked with Cole. I believed in his vision, but when I saw how far he'd go, I couldn't stomach it. He destroyed people. He will destroy you too if you don't stop him." Laura steps closer, concern etched in her features. "We want to stop him, but we have to know this information is real." The figure tosses a small USB drive onto a cracked slab of concrete about 10 feet away. "On there, you'll find all the proof you need. Once you expose Cole, his entire network crumbles, including Renshaw's plan to seize your company." Jonathan moves carefully, retrieves the USB. In the faint moonlight, he flips it in his hand. "This is what's left of his skeletons?" "Yes," the voice says. "But be warned, if Cole realizes you have it, he'll lash out. You must release it publicly and quickly. Don't give him time to cover his tracks." A hush falls. Laura's breath catches, the unborn child shifting within her. This might be the turning point they desperately need. Suddenly, a flash of headlights arcs through the shattered windows on the far side of the foundry. Wheels screech. Several figures spill out of vehicles outside, their voices echoing. "Check inside!" The speaker's tone is harsh, commanding. Someone used to giving orders. The hooded figure curses. "They found me! Hurry! Get out!" Before Jonathan or Laura can ask who they are, the foundry's main entrance floods with beams from powerful flashlights. Men in dark clothing rush in, carrying firearms. One shouts, "Lock down the perimeter!" Laura's heart thunders. "Jonathan!" He grips her hand, ushering her behind a stack of old crates. The hooded figure bolts in the opposite direction, trying to slip away among the twisted beams. From the gloom, a new voice booms with cold menace. "Bennett, show yourself, and we might spare the lady." The accent is faintly East Coast, but the authority is unmistakable. Jonathan instantly recognizes it from videos he's seen. Victor Renshaw. Laura's eyes flash with fear. It's him. Jonathan signals her to stay low. He peers around the crates. At least half a dozen men fan out, armed. In the middle is Renshaw, tall, imposing, flanked by two of the biggest enforcers. They sweep flashlights across the broken machinery, searching. A second man steps forward, face partially lit by the moon's glow. Jonathan's blood runs cold. The man's features are as he expected from the grainy photo. Richard Cole, alive and well, with a calm, almost amused expression. "Jonathan Bennett," Cole calls softly, voice resonating in the large chamber. "We meet at last. No more illusions or rumors." Jonathan wonders if they can slip away, but as if reading his mind, Renshaw and Cole position themselves near the entrance, blocking the path. Their men line the perimeter, trapping Jonathan and Laura inside. Huddled behind a massive coil of rusted steel cable, Laura whispers, "Security will see them. They'll intervene." Jonathan nods, hoping the radio alert has gone out. He clutches the USB in one hand. If they can just get out of here and pass it to the authorities, Cole's entire scheme collapses. Suddenly, a shot echoes, striking concrete near their hiding spot. Debris flies. Laura stifles a cry, ducking. "Come out, Bennett," Renshaw orders, voice echoing. "We only want to talk and retrieve what's ours." Cole's men advance methodically, the crunch of debris underfoot sounding closer. Jonathan glances at Laura, a silent question in his eyes. Should we make a run for it? She looks terrified, but resolute. "Yes," she mouths. "Now." They crouch, creeping along the row of crates, trying to keep low behind twisted conveyor rails. Another bullet ricochets, sending sparks. Fear surges in Jonathan's veins, but he stays focused on protecting Laura. Cole's chilling voice floats in the darkness. "We know you met with that traitor. They have evidence that could ruin us. Hand it over and maybe we won't bury you and your pregnant ex-wife in this rubble." Jonathan's jaw sets. He won't negotiate on their terms. Mustering courage, he hisses, "Stay behind me." Together they break into a sprint, darting for a side exit half collapsed by old debris. Shouts erupt. "There they are!" Flashlight beams stab through the gloom. Gunshots bark, echoing in the cavernous space. Laura gasps, hugging her belly, instincts screaming to protect her child. The side exit is blocked by corrugated metal sheets, but Jonathan spies a gap near the corner. If they can squeeze through, the security detail outside might intercept. He leads Laura, heart pounding. Bullets ping off rusted scaffolds. Cole's voice calls out, "Don't let them escape. That evidence must not see daylight." A hulking figure tries to intercept. Jonathan lunges, ramming the attacker with his shoulder. The man reels back, giving Laura just enough time to slip past. Another henchman grabs Jonathan's sleeve, but Jonathan wrenches free. He drags Laura through the narrow gap, scraping his arm on sharp metal. Pain flares, but adrenaline propels him forward. They emerge onto a weed-choked yard behind the foundry, bathed in faint moonlight. The security team's SUV roars into view, headlights slicing through the gloom. Jonathan waves frantically. At the same moment, Renshaw's men burst out the gap, raising their weapons. "Down!" the head of Jonathan's security detail yells. Several trained guards in bulletproof vests spill from the SUV, returning fire. Staccato gunshots rip through the night, muzzle flashes igniting the chaos. Laura presses herself against Jonathan, eyes wide. He shelters her as best he can. The clash lasts mere seconds. Renshaw's men, outnumbered and blindsided, retreat behind broken rubble, dragging away at least one wounded compatriot. Amid the crossfire, Jonathan glimpses Renshaw, angry, snarling, and Cole, who calmly signals for a withdrawal. The two vanish back into the foundry, slipping deeper into shadow. The security detail chases, but it's a maze in there, and soon the echoes fade. Sirens wail in the distance. Someone must have called the police. Laura's chest heaves, tears of relief welling up. She clutches Jonathan's jacket, feeling the frantic beat of his heart. "That was so close," she manages, voice shaky. He hugs her briefly, checking she's unharmed. Apart from the scrape on his arm, they seem physically okay. "We're safe," he breathes, "and we have this." He holds up the USB, the slender device that could dismantle Cole's empire of subterfuge. Several uniformed cops arrive on scene, securing the perimeter. Jonathan's security team ensures they're unscathed, though adrenaline still runs high. The old foundry stands behind them like a wounded beast. Renshaw and Cole slipped away, but not unscathed. Now they know Jonathan has what he needs to strike back. An hour later, a swarm of law enforcement vehicles and forensics teams combs the site. Ambulances treat minor injuries. Laura sits on the open tailgate of the security SUV, sipping water. while a medic checks her vitals as a precaution. Jonathan stands nearby, giving a statement to a detective. The flicker of red and blue lights plays across his face, accentuating the gravity of the night's events. Finally, the detective wraps up, handing back Jonathan's ID. "We'll need that drive for evidence," she says, nodding at the USB he guards fiercely. He hesitates only a moment. "I'll share a copy, but first let my legal team duplicate and review it. This is bigger than an attempted assault. These files implicate high-level corporate crimes." The detective weighs his words, then agrees with a curt nod. "Make it quick. We'll coordinate with your counsel." He rejoins Laura, who slowly stands, still shaky. "I can't believe how fast it all happened," she murmurs. "We saw Cole's face. He wanted us dead." Jonathan wraps an arm around her shoulders, both to comfort and steady her. "He won't win. Not now. Tomorrow, we unleash every piece of evidence on that drive. We expose Cole, Renshaw, and their entire plot. The board's already behind us. This will seal the deal." Laura brushes away a stray tear, relief mingling with exhaustion. "Then it's over? After all this?" "Over for them," Jonathan says resolutely. "For us, maybe it's a beginning." He glances at her belly, then meets her gaze. "You and I still have a lot to figure out, but we stood together and we won." She manages a faint laugh, emotional but hopeful. "We did." They head to the SUV, leaning on each other for support. As they drive away from the old Riverside foundry, the silhouettes of rusted machinery fade into the distance, replaced by the neon glow of a city that never truly sleeps. Though Cole and Renshaw escaped into the night, their secret advantage has been shattered. The stolen evidence, long hidden, now rests with Jonathan, ready to be shared with the world. By daybreak, every major shareholder, media outlet, and federal authority will know the truth of the plot against Bennett Enterprises. And as the SUV merges onto a highway glittering under streetlights, Jonathan dares to hope not just for his company's future, but for a second chance with the woman by his side, and the child they're about to welcome into a life no longer overshadowed by secrecy or fear. A new dawn awaits, and with it, redemption from mistakes of the past, and the promise of a legacy built on trust, perseverance, and a love that refused to be broken. If you enjoyed this story, don't miss the next one. Just click on the screen